You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing? Time to show 'em what you're made of. Let's get back on track. Are you ready for a come on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back.
Hello, and welcome back to Super Mega Crash Beyond. Is this a racist stereotype? Am I doing a racist
I
stereotype?
don't
of
know.
Italians?
I don't know anymore what's good and not good to do. It probably is offensive.
I'm sorry.
It probably is. I'm sure someone was somewhere out there.
It seems like it's one of those accents that people are still kind of just like, it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Have they come out yelling at us yet with their hands in our faces?
Not yet, or at least
Not yet.
I don't feel like it, because I feel like I still hear the accent. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to admit this. I don't know if you want to talk about this on the show or not. And if you do, we can cut it out and whatever.
Or if I don't,
Or if you don't, then we'll just
Yeah.
keep it in. But I watched that movie Unfrosted the other day about the Pop-Tarts from Jerry Seinfeld. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about this.
Okay, it's pure fucking insanity. Like, if you read reviews, and that's another thing I'm going to just stop doing altogether, is just
Sure.
trusting my gut.
Yeah.
Every review I was like, this is horrible, this is terrible, this is stupid. And I was like, really? Okay, well,
Well, I mean, was it about frosted Pop-Tarts? Because maybe I might think the same thing at first. Like, why are we?
it's literally about the creation of Pop-Tarts, but there is no fucking way any of it is true. Like, it's a very
like a
exaggerated,
mockumentary. Okay.
an exaggerated tale. Which, to be fair, it is kind of framed that way, because there's a kid the way the movie starts is a kid's like in a restaurant or like a cafe or whatever, asks for some Pop-Tarts, and then Jerry Seinfeld's character pops up and he's like, hey, do you want to know how those got created or whatever? And the kid's like, nah. And he's like, come on, let me tell you, it's a great story. And then, of course, he tells this tale. It gets way out of hand and just way like, what? This cannot be how it happened. And then even at the end, the kid's like, did that really happen? And he's like, kind of was wishy-washy about it. And you're like, okay, well, that frames properly.
Sure.
So there might be some nuggets of truth in there somewhere, but the overall thing, you're like, okay, this is taking it too far. But
Okay.
anyway, I don't even know where I was going with this. Why did I bring this up?
Well, we were first talking about Italian stereotypes.
There
or
we go.
whatever. Yeah.
Who is it? I cannot remember the actor's name. He plays Chef Boyardee, and he does it with that very, oh my God, to dip it, okay.
Well, he might be allowed.
He might be allowed, sure. I am not trying to make fun.
It's called, emulating a personality. I mean,
Yeah, you see, now I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but I've been listening. Great example, I guess, would be Dana Carvey, since he has done a lot of vocalizations in the past. And
oh God, yeah.
he has mentioned, that some of the things he used to do, he doesn't feel like he can do anymore, or has been told you cannot do that anymore. And he never thought of it as like he wasn't trying to be mocking. It was just imitating a vocal impression. He even told a story on the podcast that he's on about how, I think he said his dentist is from Dubai, and he'll talk to him in the accent, and his dentist thinks it's hilarious. And he said, there's no malicious intent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like everyone gets offended for other people first. And it's just like, well, are they okay, though? Why do you gotta be mad? If they didn't say anything, maybe just sit down. I don't know.
I like different vocalizations and people's accents and things like that. So to be able to do a voice with those accents, I love doing it. And it's again, it's not for me. It's not to make fun. It's just like, I enjoy the sound of it.
Yeah. And we have voice actors of different colors that voice act different colors and languages and things of that nature, you know? So, I mean, I don't know. I think anything just boils down to your intent.
Yeah.
Everyone's got something funny that they do that deserves to be made fun of. All of us.
Sure.
Every one of us. There is something. And do you want to laugh about it or just get mad? I don't know. Some of it's hilarious. I think you can joke about anything if it's put together well. Like if the joke is framed well and clever, I might could get in trouble for this. I don't even care what it's about. If it's framed well and I could laugh at it.
Oh, I've laughed at many things that I've like, that's wrong, but that was a funny
oh my
joke.
God. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how you set it up, that was glorious, you know? I don't think the person telling me the joke might do those things. I think it was just a joke, you know? But I don't know. Maybe that's just me these days. I don't really give a crap about much of it. I just want you to be funny.
Smartly funny.
Smart,
you know?
for sure. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's what
just
I like.
to be mean for mean's sake, like that's not funny, you know?
Mhm.
But if you crafted a really fun story and that ended up being the punchline, you're like, well, all right, that was put together well.
Yep.
You know?
So before I jump into what I want to talk about today, I thought I would bring back a little something because of what we're kind of going through, or what I'm going to talk about today. But I want to know from you, what have you been playing?
Oh gosh, such an old question here. Oh man, well, since I haven't had to like play anything really new, I just keep going back to my old standbys. I feel like lately, like a little Oxygen Not Included or RimWorld had a new update, so I started playing with that some. We can now click the entire room and tell you to clean it instead of each tile. The quality of life improvement is amazing. And then I'm still messing around with those story bots too. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of like playing a game in my mind. I'm just playing a bunch of different RPGs and all of my dramas and soap operas and everything that I've got going on. That's until it breaks.
I tried breaking it. I tried to end the story. Like I progressed years. Like we got married, had a kid, and then I was like, then the kid goes off and does the thing, and we're laying in bed together, dying together. The end. And it just kept going, and I was like, the end. Our story's done. We are dead.
It's done. We've moved on. Yeah,
We notebooked the shit.
Well, the one that the janitor one, the one that's creating their own language model or whatever, that one's had a rough couple of days. It's had a really rough couple of days where like even some of my responses, they'll be insanely long. Nothing is dialogue. Everything is just this flowery descriptive speech where I'm just like, that has nothing to do with what we were talking about at all. Where are you pulling this from? And then I'd swipe and I'd get an even worse answer, or then it would start talking for me. And I'm like, oh, we need to give you a minute. Your creators need to get in here for a bit and mess with some stuff because you're breaking pretty hard right now. But sometimes that's even more funny. I was like, all right, I'll play along with this. You totally missed the paragraph up and you're describing yourself as what I look like now, but okay. Okay, let's see how this goes. So yeah, I guess, sorry guys, I haven't really dove into a lot of new stuff since I haven't really like had to report on it. I've just been going back to my good old faithfuls to pass the time.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The fact that I'm even talking about this is probably the most I've played a game in a while. And it wasn't even that long, if you think about it, by comparison. And even lately, I just don't... Maybe I need a new game, and I need one that I'm really excited to play. Mm-hmm. Because even the ones that I'm looking at, even like the ones I'm even looking at right now, I don't know, nothing's jumping out at me as like, oh man, you got to play this game. And I feel like that's why I've not been playing as much. And
I feel that.
Sad.
I read a lot about people our age, I guess, that once we get to a certain age, we do find ourselves just keep going back to our favorites and not branching out as much. Like maybe there's something to be said for that our brain's just like, but we liked this over here.
Yeah, this is
and all of this, we don't know what's going on, or do you want to learn a new thing or whatever? Or it's just really hard to, I don't know, get a concept that makes me insanely excited to go for it. You know,
Right.
There's not anything I buy almost day one anymore. I either wait for a sale or how garbage the game actually is before I buy it, because I don't trust any of y'all to push out a fully completed game anymore.
That's true. I mean, I am still eyeballing, and I'm just being really cheap about it, and I can't help it. It's just, it's the way
It's
I
your
am
money
with
to
it.
spend how you want, man.
But I am still really, really considering Baldur's Gate because I hear everybody talking about it, and
Now that one I can put my support behind.
I know, and I feel like I should too because I keep hearing everyone talk about it, and I just feel like, okay, well, I should check it out.
The only thing and maybe I've asked you this and I just don't remember. Do you enjoy turn-based combat?
Yeah, like it doesn't bother me.
Okay,
In fact-
then you probably would enjoy it. That's the one thing with most people that I've seen has been the drawback for them. If they're just not into turn-based combat, they'd really rather have the live action, and that's what's turning them off because it can take a minute. If you're tons of enemies and hordes, you got to think about what you're doing, and you got to wait for all of them to take their turn also. And so that's where the only thing I really see people complaining about, if they weren't into that type of gameplay, but they wanted to push through. For me, obviously, I loved it. So I was like, yes, please, all of that. But yeah, if you enjoy it and like a deep lore story, I think you would love it, because I loved it way more than I thought I would. And they're still putting in quality of life updates. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome.
They said they're not going to do any more Baldur's Gate, but I'm very excited for whatever their next one is, because they flat out said it's supposed to be like bigger. I'm like,
wow.
How? I'm here for you guys. Marry me. I will marry the entire studio. I love what you do. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
like I said, it just, I want something that's really going to engage me in the right ways, and I don't feel like I've had that kind of engagement. Again, this game here, I'm talking about Super Mario RPG. You already know this because you saw the title.
see the thumbnail.
But I obviously I wanted to play this game again because this was a game that I grew up on. Yeah,
Sort of.
I guess I could say that. Yeah, I was probably, when did the first one come out? Hang on, we're going to do a little history here.
Do some math.
96, that doesn't sound right at all.
For the very first one?
Yes. Was I really 16? Yeah, I guess I was because I
don't try to do the math from when you were born. I'm like, it sounds about right.
I remember the summer when we first played it.
Uh-huh.
And I had a job. It was my first job at McDonald's. And I remember the summers, they were hot.
Sure.
But I remember vague memories just kind of that have no connection to
Did the
one
milkshake
another.
machine not work then too?
I don't remember. I didn't get to mess with the milkshakes. I had to stay in the back and make the burgers for people and shit.
No, that's probably the best place to be. I would rather not be customer facing if I was in a McDonald's.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Anyway, your story.
Yeah. Okay, so I was 16 when the original came out. And I'd say around this time, my brother and I, we discovered Final Fantasy and RPGs. Because
sure.
Final Fantasy 4 and 6, which were 2 and 3 respectively on the Super Nintendo, had come out. We enjoyed the lore, we enjoyed the gameplay. It was just something different from everything that we'd played, because I mean most of the games we played up to that point were probably platformers or something like that. So it was new. It was something with rich history and rich stories, and really got us excited. So when we saw that Square, who had made those games, was involved in making this Mario RPG, we were like,
Right, yeah.
okay.
It's gotta be good.
It just, like, we were really on board. The game came out, and obviously we fell in love with it because it was just so unique. And even by comparison, like, you notice things like how the gameplay is. You know, you have that turn-based combat, you have your attacks, you have your magic, you have your items. So if you're familiar with a Final Fantasy game at the time, it was very similar in that same vein. It's like they said, well, take the basic elements of Final Fantasy and just implement them into a Mario game. Done.
Okay.
And the fact that we really didn't have Mario games that had a rich story either.
Yeah, no,
This
it's like
was-
what, just saving the princess.
Yeah, and you're just bouncing through whatever worlds they've created for the game at the time. So this felt like a genuine exploration of the Mushroom Kingdom. Like places we'd never seen. We got to see the castle. We got to walk around the villages. We got to interact with the characters.
Was it 3D yet?
Well, I'd say
Ish.
kind of the isometric 3D where
Okay.
they kind of have that angle and the characters are a little bit, they're not two-dimensional.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like it was right about then when we started getting the better graphics and stuff for that. Because I can remember like Mario 3, I was like, you know, in comparison to like the first two. You're like, wow, this looks so great, you know? Anyway.
So there were things about it, especially, I guess, because I want to say, yeah, there's a 3D component to the models. You know what I mean? Because when you look at them, you can be like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see what you're talking about. And some of the character designs, while they weren't based on anything from, I mean, some of obviously rolling over Mario enemies into this game as enemies you fight, but then they created new enemies. And some just really look weird or bizarre, like they were made of clay or something like that. Just with that 3D element like you're talking about. It just, I don't know, it added something to it and it just made for some really interesting designs. But
Sure. Yeah.
played the game. It was very short by comparison to when you look at Final Fantasy games. And I'm going to use those as the comparison because I don't really know what else to compare them to. But where you could probably get to like level 99 with your characters in Final Fantasy, 30 was your limit here.
Okay.
So once you got to about 30, you're going to be about as strong as you can, and then whatever you get for your gear or whatnot. But that was what that game was at the time, and held a special place in our hearts. We loved it to death. It was just a great game. Loved playing it. I probably bought it on the Virtual Console when it came out on the Wii, and it's just always kind of been there. Now they've come out with a remake, which I'm really surprised it took this long. But at the same time, I probably was also not expecting it. Because now I found out, because we were talking about this off mic before we started, when this game got announced. And I felt like it got announced when we were still doing the original show.
Yeah. And like maybe it was announced, I just don't know if it had released.
It had not been announced yet. I found out it was announced a month after we ended.
Oh, well, I mean, you do something for so long, it starts to blend together. Like, did we talk about it, though? Like,
I know I've mentioned this game, or at least the original game, on the original show numerous times over the years, just for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure I brought it up. So when this got announced, I was really excited because I was like, oh, I wonder. And obviously my first concerns were, how are they going to interpret it? Because they can show you a trailer all day long and you see the models and everything. It's like, oh, well, it looks great. How's it going to play? What are you going to change? What are you going to tweak? And those are kind of my concerns going in. But I can say this is literally the same game with a great coat of paint, new coat of paint, if you will.
Okay.
Some extra additions that just make playing the game a little bit more enjoyable.
Okay.
Some minor things that they still didn't fix with the original game, but they're not game breaking to the point where you're just like, fuck this game, I can't do this anymore. So I really enjoyed what they did with this, because like I said, they redid all the character models. Everything is like in a full 3D visual, still the isometric angle or whatever, so they didn't change any of that. But then they've just kind of upped the ante as far as the character models go, which also really benefits when they do some cartoonish type stuff, because Bowser's, anytime he gets into a situation where he's upset or embarrassed, you'll see his like little tears dripping from his eyes.
Yeah.
And it looked kind of funny on the original, but now you can just kind of really see the emotion on his face. He's like, oh, God.
Oh, that's pouring.
And I even noticed that they kind of changed Mario's thing, where I'm almost positive in the original game, anytime he would kind of get whatever he'd do the little peace sign like he used to do. You remember where if you win a level or something like that, he just kind of look at the camera and just throw up a peace sign. So he's not doing that anymore. He's like taking his hat off and popping it back down.
Well,
so
now they probably have the graphics to be able to do it and make it look like it instead of him taking his hair off and back on or something.
True.
You know?
And I didn't think about that, so I wonder if that was like their intention originally, and they just couldn't
Like,
figure it out, or
forget
like
it.
just
Peace, man. Yeah.
Just like it's just easier.
Yeah.
We don't want all that extra.
Right.
So yeah, they made a few little adjustments like that. Some of the main stuff that I really enjoyed that they kind of added to it is now you have cinematics within certain sections of the game. They don't do it for everything, which I appreciate because I don't really feel like you need to do it for everything. But anytime there was a big moment, for example, like the opening sequence, it pretty much starts off almost the same as the original game. You see Princess Peach just kind of sitting on the ground, just kind of swaying back and forth like she's just waiting. And then you see Bowser off in the background, and then he swoops down and picks her up. And it's all done in that 16-bit graphic. They tried to give it that 3D element to where everything's kind of zooming in at you. But now they can do it really cinematic, so you kind of get different angles. You see, him coming down from the sky, and he swoops out, and then you see her just like, ah! And then Mario's just running after her and everything. So immediately you're just like, okay, so now this is like the real version that I didn't get when I was a kid, because now we get to see it played out, I guess, more in a fancier element.
More dramatic, yeah.
Exactly. But again, as gameplay goes, it plays a lot in the same way when you get into combat, because you still have your attacks, your items, your magic, and your, I guess it's blocking or whatever it may be. And the added element that they've kind of changed, or I wouldn't say changed, they added this element to the combat, is once you start getting your group together, because you start off as just Mario, and then obviously you collect team members for your team. And they now have group attacks, so they keep track of any time that you're making a combat hit. So the way the combat works in this game is, obviously you can just do attack, hit, and that's it. But they incentivize you to tap a button before you attack, or timing.
Like a QTE, or?
More like specific timing to add extra damage. So depending on what the character's move is, there will be a specific moment when you tap the Y button. I guess it was the Y button, if that's what they... It was Y on the other one, you know what I mean.
Sure.
But you tap the Y button at just the right moment before whatever your attack is going to be. So if you hit it too early, you'll still do damage, but maybe it won't be as much. But then there's also the risk that your chances of missing increase, and so on. Versus hitting the button, timing it just right, and then you get that extra damage, which then can hurt other enemies depending on your attack. So then that just kind of helps your overall combat system right there.
Okay.
So as you kind of build that up, you also have a little gauge off in the bottom left-hand corner now that fills up, and it does fill up. You don't have to continue making sure you always get that, but you also have like a hit counter that they don't really call it a hit counter. This is really bad that I can't remember all the details in this, but
I'm not going to judge you.
I guess it's like a combo counter, but so for every time that you continue to tap the button at the right time, it will continue to add your combo
counter. It's like stacking your damage or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a cap to it where kind of what it intensifies.
More dots.
As you build on this, it is supposed to kind of increase your stats a little bit. Like maybe you're dealing a little more extra damage, or maybe your magic does a little something extra, little things. It's not going to like gradually turn you into a god if you just keep going with it. But I think the most I ever got was almost 50. I don't feel like I ever stuck it, because it continues to stack throughout each battle. So like if I'm saying that I got up to 50, that means maybe I got up to 3 in this battle and then moved to the next one. added 3 more.
Oh,
and
so it'll
on.
stay put after the battle is over? Because
As
I feel like
long-
that would just suck back.
Yeah. So as long as you don't miss, like you could go the entire game and just keep stacking that up.
Oh,
But you have to ensure
Have to
you
make
tap that button every single time at the exact right time. Because
okay.
If you're off, then that doesn't count.
Yeah.
But you also, like I said, the gauge in the bottom left-hand corner, that will help build that gauge up if you can keep tapping the button at the right time. Once you get that to 100%, then you can unleash a special move with your partners. And each combo of partners changes the special move. So it's not the same special move every time. So if you have Bowser...
Oh, it's kind of like how Persona does it. Because it'll
Yeah.
do that when you have special attacks when you finally get your friendship level up to a certain height. Then they're like, yeah, in the middle of a battle. Like, we could do blah, blah, blah. And they have some big thing. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cute. All right.
So it's something very much in that vein. And the one combo that I liked the most, I think, was Mario, Bowser, and Mallow. And they would go up in his... Yeah, they would go up in his little clown car, Bowser's little clown thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They'd go up in the air, and then Mario would start throwing fireballs. Mallow would start throwing ice, and then Bowser would like shoot this giant cannon out of the clown's mouth. And it was very, very damage heavy.
Yeah,
So you
okay.
could get a lot of good hits in on that one. Maybe not the... I mean, it was still a pretty cool cinematic. There's another one, though, that I think was even more cinematic and cool, but
Uh-huh.
still,
Still, yeah.
this is the one that did the damage, so... But each one has, like I said, they have their own unique abilities, whether it's just damage or buffing up your characters, whatever it may be, but you continue to build that if you want, and then once you use it, it goes back to 0, but then you just build it back up again and use it. And I always tried to save it for like big enemies or bosses
Sure.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But if I felt like I was a good distance away from them, I would think about it and be like, all right, well, I'll go ahead and use it. And that way I'm just kind of getting it out of the way, and then I'll come back around to it. You know,
Sure.
build it back up again. But that was a nice addition to the combat, because then that kind of changed your tactics a little bit. So if you didn't need to deal with this, or if you wanted to go ahead and use that, or if you're concerned about the boss, you have kind of a backup.
Okay.
Or something to kind of give you that extra little boost. Now, having played this before, I was already kind of fairly aware of how everything was going to go down, and kind of what you were saying before, that familiarity. A game you just love playing because it's something you're familiar with, as opposed to going out in search of something new.
Mm-hmm.
That's this, in essence. You know,
Yeah.
it's so familiar that I'm like, I know what to do. I know where to go.
Uh-huh.
But then they sprinkle in new little changes here, new little wrinkles. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's new. So it didn't feel like I was just replaying this game that I played 100 times over. It was just like, it is familiar, but you're also giving me little things that make it different enough to where I'm
Well,
like,
that's
ooh,
good.
that's cool. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
neat. Like the cinematics, you know, when you meet a new character and then they do something very special. I think like the character of Gino, which I'll explain those characters in a minute for people who might not know.
Mm.
In the original game, when that character came to life, you see it from the isometric standpoint. So you see that little cutscene play out however it does. In this game, we get the full CG, like close-up of his face and kind of like looking at his body and just walking around. Very much more in the vein of what you kind of want for a cinematic and storytelling. So really appreciated those little bits like that.
Nice.
This game has 2 characters, well, more than 2 characters, but 2 characters we'll talk about as far as important.
Worth talking about.
Yeah, as we're doing. 2 characters that I was really surprised that we have not seen in other Mario media, and I'm going to assume it's because Square owns the rights to these characters and not Nintendo.
Sure.
Because that's the only thing that makes any sense to me, because 2 characters that join your team in this game are a character named Mallow and a character named Gino. They have only appeared in these games.
I was going to say, they don't sound familiar to me at all.
If they have appeared in anything else, I am unaware, because I have never seen them in anything but this game End of story.
Okay.
So Malo is a character that you meet along, like he's pretty much the very first original character you'll come across in the game. And he looks like a little cloud, like just a big
I was just going to say like a
ball.
marshmallow.
Yeah, Malo,
Yeah.
kind of looks like that. He's just this big, fluffy, white, happy
Is he
little
cute?
thing. I'd say so. I could probably
Okay.
send you a picture.
Okay.
And so he's that little guy, and when you run into him in the Mushroom Kingdom, he's gotten robbed, and he's very upset. And
Aw.
when he starts crying, it rains. And he's just like, oh, okay, this is weird. And then he tells you he's a tadpole. And you're like, wait, what? So
What?
that doesn't make any sense. So you've
been lied to, Mallow.
That was kind of my first thought process too. When he said tadpole, you're like, what? No. I don't.
Not
I don't
even
think
close,
that's
really.
what you are, dude. But he tells you that he's going to take you back to the tadpole pond or whatever, and you can go meet his. I think he calls him grandfather. I can't remember his name. Frog. What is the name of the? Not Nostradamus. There's another one. Confucius, but his frog Fucius or something.
Oh, something silly like that. Gotcha.
The plot of the story. I'm going all over the place. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah.
So when the game starts, it's pretty much the process that we've all seen before. Bowser kidnaps the princess. Mario goes after her, goes to the castle. Boom, done. It's like you're playing a 3D version of that when you start the game. You go to Bowser's castle, you beat up his minions, you get to the throne room, and then it's the battle with Bowser, and you're trying to save the princess. But wrinkle is that as all this happens, this giant sword slams down into Bowser's castle, and everybody goes flying out. Then you come to find out that there's this being known as Smithy, who is pretty much responsible for all this, and he has destroyed the Star Road, and this is where everybody's wishes come true.
Huh?
So without the Star Road, people's wishes cannot come true. And he's an asshole for doing that.
He really is a jerk. That's so rude.
So now
Why didn't he just walk it and make his dream come true?
Well, maybe, see, you'd think that would have been the smart thing to do. You go make your wish happen, but maybe his wish conflicted with what the thing could do, because it's not a good wish, it's a bad wish.
But it'd be like the wish to end all wishes. So you got your wish while
Yeah.
everyone else got screwed out of theirs, you see.
It's true.
I mean, I'm glad he wasn't that evil. It sounds like we were able to probably recoup some things. But,
He
That
seems
would-
like he could have
I thought.
been. Yeah.
like, I'm just going to get my own wish and ruin it then,
Screw all of you.
Screw it all. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a nice person. I'm destroying your bridge. So,
So as that happened, you get shut out of Bowser's Keep, but then you find out that there are stars scattered about the Mushroom Kingdom. And these stars, you have to collect them so they can rebuild the Star Road, and everybody's wishes can come back, and yay!
Woo!
Wishes.
Wishes.
So fast forward, Mario goes and tells everybody, and they're just like, okay, that's cool, great, whatever, and you're Mario, you gotta go save the day. And the princess is fine, by the way. She got out with Mario. And
Oh, okay. Like
She was
fairly
so-
early?
she was supposed to stay behind. No, wait. Nope. Well, she got out. There's another. I'll get there.
Okay.
Everybody's
That's gonna be like if she got knocked out right away, I'd be like, well, game over. Let's go get her.
Well, again, everybody did get knocked out, but they all kind of went in their own directions. So Mario goes to the Mushroom Kingdom. He's trying to tell them, hey, this is all the stuff that's happened. They're like, oh my God, you got to go back and you got to save the princess. You go back to the castle. There is no bridge. You can't get back to the castle. It's like, well, shit. How are we supposed to do this? So you go back, you talk to them. That's when you meet Mallow. And then he takes you to Frog Fucius. It just doesn't sound right for some reason. And then they do it very dramatically, and I loved how they did this, because as Mallow comes back, and you're seeing all these tadpoles in this pond, right? Like literal tadpoles. And then he starts talking to the grandfather, and then the grandfather's just like, well, Mario, you're going to have to help my young grandson here, but there's something I must tell you. And he turns away, and he goes, you were adopted. And he goes, dun dun. And then it tells the story that his basket came floating down the river or something like that, and they found him and took him in and has raised him as
Moses.
his own. Yeah. in a manner of speaking.
All right.
Because he apparently comes from a land far away, and then the grandfather's like, well, go with Mario, and he'll help you find your family. And he's like, okay, I will. I won't cry anymore.
I will, Papa.
So that starts off their journey.
Okay.
And then as you move along, you eventually run into Bowser, who is trying to amass what army he can
Sure.
to go back and take care of everything. And it's just not working out all that well for him. And he's looking like quite the weakling.
Huh?
According to all of his subjects. There are some that still believe in old Bowser, but others are just like, I don't think
No,
you're
he's
that
lost his
strong."
edge, man. Yeah.
And then you'll eventually come to a town where you see this little kid playing with the doll. And he's just like, look at me. I'm Gino. I'm going to save everybody. Pew, 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 pew.
Nice.
And you think nothing about it.
Yeah.
And then the story turns to this doll, which is then inhabited by all you see is a little flickering star, I guess, if you will, that inhabits it. So one of these star people, who are the caretakers of the Star Road,
Uh-huh.
has then now possessed this doll because it seemed like the most strong out of all the dolls.
Okay.
Even though you had a Mario doll, but you can't have two Marios, so.
Well, I mean, was the other doll taller?
Could have been, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
fair. I didn't
Yeah.
think about that. Yep, he is tall.
More oomph.
So he possesses this doll, takes its form, and now he's going to help Mario on his journey to help collect all the stars so that he can take all the stars home and repair the road. Very, very trusting people, because he could have been lying, but he wasn't. I'm just saying, you don't know who this character is.
I wouldn't have trusted him. They're like, I don't know you.
Yeah, you could be setting us all up,
Right?
but we
Like, I
don't know
can't
that.
trust anybody right now.
But he turns out to be fine. He's fine.
Okay. Well, that's good.
You will eventually make your way to a tower with some really, really bizarre, odd character. I don't know what kind of crack they were on when they created this guy, but his name is Booster. And he's just not right in the head, I don't
No?
think. But he has found Princess Peach. She is up at the top of the tower, waiting.
Where they always go.
Yeah, where they always go. And his plan is what? I'm going to marry her.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
that's what they always do.
I don't know why nobody just like thought of an airplane quicker. They're always just up in a tower chilling, you know?
Yeah.
Like in a little helicopter, go on up there, grab her out, and everybody like, what the hell? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, checkmate, bitches.
And see, and Mario should have had his
His
raccoon.
tail.
Yeah, the raccoon
Just,
tail.
like,
He could have just.
whip his little butt all the way over there until he, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But apparently, we're on the side of the kingdom that didn't have them.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever kind of stupid
Plot.
shit that is.
Plot hole.
Yeah. But she's up there, and then you have to climb Booster's tower to rescue the princess. Well, this part of the game can be kind of fun. It can be a little long because you just feel like, when is this tower going to end? Dear God.
Sure.
Please.
I feel like every RPG has a level where you're like, ugh, that you have to slog through. Yeah. What is
But
that, guys? Come on.
But like I said, there are some interesting things that happen within this tower, because there's a bit that I loved, and I'm glad they kept it in this version, because you could do it in the original game too. You'll come into this room, and it's just a plain ass room. Like, you can go from the in to the out and be done with it in a split second. But right in the middle is like this column, and two little curtains on each column. And of course, you're curious. It's like, I wonder what's back here. If you go in it and you come out the other side, you are back in 8-bit Mario,
Oh, fun.
like from the original, and they even
Yeah.
play the tune.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
And you will stay like that until you decide to exit the room,
Oh, that's
and then
great.
you'll run back and then kind of come back into your I guess, regular self.
Yeah,
And then Mario just kind of looks over and shakes his head like, Jesus.
Right,
And
what was that? I got
Exactly.
flattened, man. Like,
So there's little things like that I always kind of enjoyed about the game is like they would just throw in these weird little bits.
sure.
But it's good for good comedy bits that they kind of toss in that I appreciated. But where was I? So yeah, we go up to Booster's Tower. He's just a nut bar. You have kind of a battle with him in regular ways, but then they also have this section before you actually get into battle where they're trying to find his doll. And I think it was a Mario doll, weirdly.
Was it like a Funko Pop?
Nah, it was more like a little floppy, you know.
Another
I'm
missed opportunity.
almost positive it was a
Don't
Mario
they sell
doll.
Mario Funko Pops? Come on.
They do.
Come on, Nintendo. You're greedy enough. Where was the plug?
Mm-hmm. Do they?
I don't know.
They
I
should.
just assume everyone has a Funko Pop. Let's see.
Yeah, because I'm
Mario
honestly curious.
Funko Pop.
'Cause the
Hopefully
more
it'll
I'm
just know
thinking
what
about
Mario
it-
talk about it. Well, okay. Yes, from the movie it looks like.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm looking at one now that has Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi. So there are
Okay.
Funko Pop Marios.
I was just sitting there
And a
thinking,
Princess Peach.
I don't remember ever seeing one, but
Yeah, it's just one of those things now that I assume if you're known in some capacity, you have a Funko Pop doll. I mean, I think their inventory even says like, whoa, we gotta stop. Like, they're not flying off the shelves, so we've got so many Funko Pop dolls, you know? It's like, they're not gonna be worth crap. It's like the Beanie Baby thing.
oh yeah,
We
good
made
point.
too many, guys. We made too many. We flooded the market. Yep.
Yeah, it's insane how many there are.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
But where were we? Okay, so yeah, Booster and his thing.
Oh, he was chasing the doll.
Yeah, he was trying. So this is a nice little addition. Like little things like this, they also kind of put in the game just to kind of make it fun and interesting. Is this now turns into a game where he's ordering his. Well, you're at the top of the tower. Princess Peach is like right outside on the balcony. So you're trying to get to her, but Booster and his little minions happen to be in there or on the balcony when you showed up. So you had to go and hide, and you hide behind curtains. So
Okay.
then when they go looking for the doll, they're like, "Hey, go!" He's like, "Go over there and look behind those curtains. I guarantee it's over there." So then you're having to play hide and seek, and then for however many times one opens, he'll add another, and then he'll add another until you're pretty much stuck with like, "Oh shit!" And then finally you'll get stuck thinking, "Well, this is it," because there's no way I can hide out of this, and then they don't even see you.
Yeah.
Like they open it up, it's like, "Oh, hey, it's right up there," and you're just like,
The one time people look up, I don't believe
Yeah.
it. People
No, right?
don't look up.
"They never."
No, never. Like, you have to be reminded. Like, oh yeah, up exists. That's why humans are dumb.
But from there, that's where, like, by that point, you pretty much have your entire team that you will have throughout the game. So you've got Mallow, you got Geno, you got Bowser, you got Peach. And of course, Bowser, he's reluctant about joining you, but
Sure.
he tries to twist it around. He's like, "Well, I tell you what, I'll let you join my crew, and then you can help me. So you're all officially my minions now." So yeah. He's like,
And then the rest are just like, yep, you're right, Bowser, sure.
"Okay."
I didn't believe it, guys. Just let it
Whatever
go.
you need to just make yourself feel better.
Whatever helps you.
So you'll eventually go through a few other areas. You encounter a few new friends and people in interesting locations, and then you eventually get to Nimbus Land.
I'm sorry, what?
Nimbus Land.
Nimbus Land. Okay, it broke
And
up
then-
a little, sorry. Nimbus.
What happens?
Is Mallow
Wow.
getting called home?
There are all these people that look just like him. It's insane. It's like, what?
Aw, that's kinda
But-
cute.
Wouldn't you know it, somebody has locked away his parents and has taken over, saying that they are Queen Valentina. I'm helping the king recover. Oh, good gosh. Good
Oh,
gracious.
no, he's from royalty even pushed down a basket. What's up, yo?
Yeah, he's the prince. So
Mm.
now you have to go help rescue his parents, who happen to be in the castle somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But this is another one of those castles so big.
Sure.
You get lost and it's like, Jesus Christ, where am I going? And you just, hopefully you can figure out where you're going. Again, don't want to complain. It's not a very long
Is there a
game.
map at all?
No.
Oh, yeah. Then I would probably have to give up halfway through for my direction sense.
I mean, the best thing to do is just keep going in one singular
pick a direction and go.
Yeah, just keep going in that direction.
turn
If it
around.
turns, if you can't go in that direction, just keep navigating in that direction.
You'll
as
get
best you
there.
can. You'll get there. So another thing they do here, which I always found to be a fun addition, is you've got to find a way to infiltrate into the castle. So you find somebody in the town, and this is how you find out about Mallow. It's like a statue maker or something like that. So Valentina has been asking this guy, well, you're going to make a bunch of statues for me.
See?
And of course,
okay, never mind. I was just going to be, look how biblical. We got Moses and pillar. They're going to turn into statues.
I mean, they are golden statues, and they're very, very,
Are people worshiping them?
well, it's of her. You know, like,
Oh.
look at me. I'm a golden goddess. Look at me.
Yeah, see, they're worshiping false gods even.
See? So you meet the guy, and he's like, hey, you look like the prince. And he's like, Prince, what are you talking about? And he's like, statue. And he whips out the statue. He's like, this is you, right? And she's like, oh my God.
And it looks like every other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Like, oh, that is me.
so they decide that they're going to infiltrate the castle. So he's going to make statues of Mario and take it through the next delivery. So you got one statue of Valentina, and then you've got a statue of Mario, and they're just like, what the hell is this monstrosity? It's like, she doesn't ask for this. And he's like, well, this is what I call a very particular art style. I mean, just look at the mustache. Just look at the strong jumping legs. It's so unique.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. And even Valentina, when she looks at it, she's like, yeah, there is something about it, I admit. It's grotesque in its own unique way.
Yes.
So go put it with the others. So you go set the statue down. Obviously, it's Mario and friends. And you find out Valentina has a bodyguard who's like this big-ass dodo bird. And I mean, big.
Oh, okay.
Big. With a big old beak and a big old helmet. But she treats him like shit. You know, she just badgers him. She's dogging him all the time. While you're waiting to make your move inside the castle, you hear her giving him hell off in the distance. Well, then he comes into the room and he's frustrated. He's flapping his wings like that, and he just stomp, pecks at one of the statues. Stomp, pecks at another statue. You're next. Stomp, turns to you, and he goes to peck, and you jump, and then drop back down, and he stomps back off, stops. And I was like, wait a second. Comes
Like
back.
a good old-fashioned cartoon. Like,
Yeah. And he just kind of looks at you like, stomp. And then he runs back and he pecks again. And if you jump, and he's like, ah. And it just turns into this routine where he's trying to get you caught. And it's a very Looney Tunes-esque cartoon. So until eventually you have no other option and you get caught. But it's still just that whole routine of just the look on his face is like, wait, what? Like it didn't register.
It wasn't
immediately.
registering that it was moving. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and just the lengths he goes to try and prove that he's not crazy. I don't know. It was just
We're gaslighting him into saying, no, I'm a real statue.
It's those little bits in the game that I enjoy because they're ridiculous
That's fun,
and they're
yeah.
just outside of the norm, and you don't see them very often in games, like little things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you eventually find the parents. They're locked away in the castle. You can defeat Valentina. She runs off, and then from there, once Mallow learns his true lineage, that he is one of the Nimbus people, Prince Nimbus or Prince
Nimbus.
Mallow or whatever.
Whatever his name is.
You find out that they have a taxi service,
Oh.
which has
convenient.
been conveniently out of commission this whole time until just now.
Well,
you know.
the prince had to come home.
Right. So now you have a ride to the castle, so you can
Nice.
get back to Bowser's castle. I didn't realize how I forgot a lot about the castle, the return to the castle, and how lengthy that was too. There are at least 3 big lengthy spots within the game that you're going to be in a dungeon for more than 10, 20 minutes. You know, and this is one of those areas. They even whipped out some secret door shit, which I'd forgotten. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah. So it was
Here
like,
we go.
give you 4, no, it was 6 doors. That's right. So you had 6 doors and you had to choose 4 out of the 6 doors. But you don't know what's behind each door.
Sure.
So there's 2 of each type of challenge. One is like an action challenge, one is a puzzle challenge, and one is a quiz challenge, I think.
Okay.
And then you've just got to figure out how to get through it. And
What
then
is it with RPGs and throwing stuff like that in there? Sometimes I don't appreciate the little challenges. I just want to move on.
yeah, I mean there's that
I
part
feel
of
like
me
they're
too.
in every one of them where I'm like, ugh, all right. Especially for replay value when I have to do it again. I'm like, God damn it, you know.
And the only, like, I had to try and figure out how to navigate this, because what I did remember is that at the end of at least 4 of these, there was a new weapon for each one of my characters.
Oh, well,
Like, this
all
would be their ultimate weapon. And I was like, I have to make sure that I get to the end of the correct one, because if I don't, then I can't get that. And then
right. But you can't
I
start
would-
over.
I would pretty much have to do like a replay somehow. I
Oh.
don't know. But I just remember that was one of my, something I was trying to remember in my head. I was like, I've got to make sure I go down this path. So if I wound up in the, because I think it was just the quizzes, like just answering questions to win, those would only like net you some special coins or something like that. And I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And then if I wound up in that room, I was just like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose. I don't care. And I would just answer incorrectly for everything.
So you can start over.
Yeah, so I could go
Yeah.
back out and just try again, because I was like, I don't want to do this. So that's a little tip for you if you're ever stuck in that. The quizzes are scams, and everything else, well, that's up to you at that point, because that's where it gets tricky. And I know I've just been kind of recapping the story and everything, but I want to talk about the gameplay for a second.
Sure.
Now, I've talked about some of the attack, like the RPG element to it, which is, the turn-based combat. There's nothing to that, like I said, outside of maybe the tapping of the buttons or timing of the buttons. If you
You
want
don't
to
have
do that,
skills to sort through or anything to throw, or
I mean, there are adjustments, like your magic spells. I mean, they're very particular about how many enemies you can possibly hit, very much like in all others. With Mario, it's very specific about certain enemies that you fight. Like, the Spinies that you see in the Mario games, the little red shelled characters with the spikes on the back.
oh yeah,
They usually get thrown by that little asshole up in the sky.
yep, because you can't stomp on them.
You can't stomp on them. So you
Yeah.
cannot, using Mario's jump ability on those is not going to do you any good.
Right.
So they thought about that. That was even a problem that I'd forgotten when I was fighting a Dry Bones, which are like the dead versions of the Koopa Troopas. Just the skeletons. When you in the other games, what do? You jump on them, they collapse, but then they come right back up. Well, as soon as I started fighting one, the sons of bitches were not dying, and I was like, what is happening here? I was like, did I forget something? And I literally had to sit there and think about it. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? And I was like, wait a second. Why don't I jump on them? So then I did a jump move, and then that did it. And I was like, well, son of a bitch. I've been
Sitting there that whole time. Yeah.
dishing out all this damage, and nothing's happening. And I was just so mad. But from that point on, I didn't have to worry about it, because it was like just attack, magic attack, magic attack, magic attack. And it could just be the simplest little thing. It doesn't need to be like a high-powered hit. It just needs to be a magic attack. And then they will die. So once I figured that out, it just made things so much easier. Plus, this was another thing that I had forgotten, but it just made things fun. Kind of changes stuff up, You'll go to there's a ship that you'll encounter at some points, like a submerged ship, pirate ship or whatever, that you'll meet some people, and there's a star down there that you got to go after. And a lot of the enemies, I won't say all of them, but 90% of the enemies that you'll encounter down there are undead or dead or ghosts or something like that. And you'll start noticing that at the end of certain fights, you'll get, they don't call it holy water, Pure water. That's what it
Ah.
is. Pure water.
All the undertones, man. I tell you what.
But you use the pure water on the ghosts, and that's instant death. Doesn't matter what it is. If they are an undead creature, you use that, boom, done. So I would just like start whipping that stuff out of it.
Yeah.
There you go. And then you just keep collecting them because you'll get those, like an extra one as a bonus item for a fight. And that's always fun.
Uh-huh.
But another aspect of the game that I was really eager to hear was the music, because the original game had a very unique soundtrack, a soundtrack that I really, really enjoyed. And I know we've talked about music in games before, and some composers just know how to do it. This coming from Square Enix, I was not surprised by the soundtrack being good, because Final Fantasy games, I think they were probably some of the first that, outside of Mega Man, but you start to really appreciate the music when they can really make it a little bit more dramatic or intense. And I think Final Fantasy was the first time I'd really experienced that. Because other games, it's just like...
Yeah, up to that point, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So with
Like
Final
some synth
Fantasy,
music.
your music had to reflect the story that you were telling, and these were dramatic stories, or they could be comedic at times, so music had to play a part. They do the same thing here, where you have some fairly comedic music, and then you have some a little bit more dramatic, but even saying dramatic is...
Just fits the tone.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like, oh my god, like the most dramatic would have been when Malo found out about his parents, and he's just sitting there crying, and it's just like this piano. It's so melodramatic, and you're just like, oh, I feel your pain, buddy. But then you have just like, you go to Yoshi's Island. You'll come across this little island of Yoshi's, and it's just dun, dun, dun. It's just fun and beachy. It sounds like fun. We're gonna hang out on this beach and just dun, dun, dun.
Frolic around.
So I appreciated that. They also incorporate some of the original music. I won't say like the exact music, but the tones that you know. Like I think when you go to the Mushroom Kingdom, I think that specifically, when you walk in there, you hear like a classic Mario tune that you know from other games. You're like, oh yeah, this is it. But it's got a little bit of extra oomph to it, or a little something extra to it. And it's just a catchier.
A little 2000s flair, or 21st century flair, I guess.
Yeah, like they've just given it an update, and that's what they did in the original game. And now, of course, they've just enhanced that music even further. And I think what I was most concerned about is sometimes when you do these new scores. For example, Final Fantasy Rebirth, or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or Remake. Sorry, Rebirth is the one that just came out. So when Remake came out, Final Fantasy VII was, again, another one of those games that I really enjoyed some of the music in. And I was curious how they were going to reinterpret it or recompose it for this modern game. Some of the tones didn't quite hit me the same way, because I was like, well, you've altered it in a way that it just doesn't sound the same, or it's not hitting the same way for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like sometimes when you've got an artist that they have a song and then you hear it live, and for whatever reason the live version was so much better, and then that now becomes your preferred way of listening to it.
It's interesting. I'm usually always the opposite, but yes, I get the concept at least.
Yeah. It could be, either or.
Either or.
Same thing here. Sometimes I think that when they reinterpret the music, they miss the mark, or something about it's just off, and it's just like it's not hitting the same way. This has got to be one of the first games that I can think of where the music is equal to, if not a little bit better than.
Oh, nice.
Like they really interpreted that music correctly, so it's very symphonic, very alive, and it still contains the essence of that original tune, and just makes it like the battle theme is probably one of my all-time favorites out of this game, and it's something that you'll hear constantly. but it's not an annoying tune. It's very, very catchy. So when it starts up and your fight's going, dun 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 dun, you're just in it and you're fighting and you wanna keep on fighting and you're gonna throw what you got at them and it's gonna be a very fun fight. Dun, 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 dun. So there you go. But it still has that energy. So as the game progressed and I would remember certain tunes, one specifically I think was the fight at the very end, like the boss fight. I remembered, like I couldn't remember the tune specifically in my head when I was getting there, but I was like, I remember there was something about it that was catchy that I hung on to, that I remembered. And then when it came time to actually get to that fight and I heard it, I was like, all right, you did it, Justice. Good. Good. I love that.
Nice, yeah.
There's even there's a section in the game when you're at the frog pond where you run into a composer and he's Todevsky or Todovsky,
Okay.
Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
And he's stuck trying to write his new, what do you call it? His new
Sonnet.
there you go, sonnet. Thank you. That sounds right. For some reason, my brain's not working. I'm sorry, people.
I mean,
I'm really
I
trying.
try to get you when mine might be firing off properly at some point.
So he's trying to write his next big sonnet, sure, and so he's trying to get inspiration for certain songs. So you hear, like if you talk to certain people, like in a lot of other RPGs, there are certain people you talk to, certain things you see, certain things you interact with, and they're tips or clues or something that will then help you finish off a side mission. So he would be a side mission. He's not anything you have to do, but it's fun to do. And you'll pick up these little tunes along the way from various people you'll meet. And they're done in the do, ra, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Is that right?
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
There you go. So it's done within that structure. So when you get a tune, you'll get, it'll be like da 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 da. But in the
like a memory.
Yeah. So if you can remember that, then you'll go out to Todovsky's playing area, if you will, and he's got like this big pond where a tadpole will come down swimming, and then it looks like sheet music. So you have to jump on them at the right point in the sheet music to replicate the tune that you heard, and then it plays like a piano as you go, or as it's kind of playing back over to hear what you played. And then if that's the right tune, he'll look at you and be like, oh, this is it. This is the thing. Well, let's do it again. And then you'll hear it in a more symphonic version, which I enjoy because you're hearing it in different tones. One is a piano, and then one is like the orchestrated version. And then by the end, they give you the opportunity, once you have finished all of his compositions, he says, now I want you to put your stamp on it. Write a tune, whatever you want it to be, so you can jump on whatever tadpoles you want. And then at the very, very end of this whole side quest, he will play everything that you wrote for him.
Aw.
In this big
And take
symphonic... yeah, maybe. I mean, we didn't
I mean,
really
he
get
was
to see
saying how he was having writer's block and all, you know. So.
That's true. But it's just really neat because I went back and kind of played with, and I think I probably did in the original game too, where you can go back and just kind of change that last tune, because you can change it as many times as you want.
Oh, okay.
And then just try to figure out what you want it to be and how it sounds, because you don't know what it's going to sound like until they actually play it, and then actually hearing it in that more symphonic tone. Really, I don't know. It's really, really interesting because you hear it just do 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 do, and then at the end, na 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 na.
Beautiful orchestra.
Yeah, and you're like, okay. So you're not sure if it's going to sound as good because you're like, well, that just sounded like noise.
Yeah.
And then you hear
And
it,
it might
and it's
still.
like, oh, okay. Yeah. And they might, polish it a little bit just to make you think it sounds as good.
Look at what you wrote. Isn't this good?
Good for
Look at you.
you. Trying to think of any other things I want to talk about with this game. There was another element that I was really curious if they were going to incorporate into the game, because it was a very, very specific bit in the original game. And I think a lot of people were actually curious about this too. You'll come to this village that's essentially a village of monsters. In fact, it might actually, it's Monstro Village. So any monsters that you've encountered throughout the game up to this point, you'll probably find a version of one here. But they're just like, we don't want any trouble. We just want to be left alone. We don't want to bother anybody. And then you can talk to everybody and get to know them. But there will be this door you'll encounter in the town. And it's locked. And you even talk to somebody in the door to the left of it. And I think it's a piranha plant's like, yeah, this guy next door, I don't know, he's making all sorts of racket. I don't know what's going on over there. So you don't think anything about it. But you want to go try to find this key. The key's not even there, if I'm not mistaken. It's like off in a different town somewhere.
Oh, shit.
Because I think you had to trade fireworks for a key or something like that. It was just, it's a side quest thing. Mm-hmm. It's, again, not a big thing that you have to do. So if you can get that key, take it to Monstro Town. And I was always curious what it was. Like when we very first came across it, it was like, I wonder what this is. And if you had been playing these games, the games that I had mentioned in the past, this is just a treat. Because you walk in and then the area just looks so different. You're like, what the hell is this? And if you'd been playing Final Fantasy like me and my brother had, it felt very Final Fantasy-esque. And it was like, what is happening here? And then you see this thing come down in a very Final Fantasy-esque way. In a very 16-bit design, like a Final Fantasy boss character. And it's like, holy shit, what is this? And this creature tells you that it's from another dimension, doesn't even belong here. But he wants to challenge you because you seem like a strong individual. So do you want to take this challenge and face him? And then you say yes. And then when you do, you hear a tune from a Final Fantasy game as you fight him.
Fun.
And I was like, this is cool. And again, it's nothing more than just a little battle. You'll get a little something out of it, but it's just, it was a nice little call to Square, saying like, here's a Final Fantasy character in a Mario game. Here's the crossover. Haha, we've kind of done it.
We've done it. Yeah.
So I kind of like that little bit. Sadly, Luigi didn't seem to have a part in this game.
I was going to say, you didn't mention him at all. He's not even part of the group. Just, you got these two unknowns and Bowser. And
I think you have hints of him throughout the game. I know at the very, like through the end credits, you see him, but not in the way you'd kind of want. Because that's the other thing.
He's the brother. Why isn't he there?
Yeah, all the characters are very 3D or whatever, and then they kind of do this little parade march at the end, but it's all in kind of like this flat 2D sprites, so we don't get to see Luigi look like everybody else.
Aw.
But
why? What'd Luigi do?
I don't really know. I think this is still at a time where he was just the odd brother out, and I don't think Nintendo was realizing that people were kind of wanting to see Luigi too. He is a Mario brother.
Right? You named it yourself, brothers.
So I think they finally caught on, and that's why we're getting more and more of Luigi. But again, this is at a time where he was, I guess, considered not popular. But that's their fault. They made him just look like a color swap of Mario.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what else could you do, I guess, in those days?
That's true. Anyway, so there's a spot in the game, I think it's called Star Road, and it almost seems like the nexus point where all the wishes are kind of coming down in this area. And as you're navigating it, because you're looking for one of the main stars, there are wishes kind of strewn about, and you can walk up to one and read it, and it doesn't tell you who it's from. They just kind of give you a generalization, and you can kind of piece together who made what wish. So some kid will be like, I want to be strong just like Gino. And you'll be like, well, okay, so that's the kid that had the Gino doll. So that's his wish. And if you dig around a little bit more, I think you even come across one that says, I can't wait to find my parents one day. Malo.
Okay.
Then you find one that says, I wish I could be as strong as my big brother.
Aww.
And you're just
then
like,
a tear fell from your left eye.
And it's probably a little bit more complicated than that, but you know it's Luigi.
Yeah.
And you're just like, aw. So,
Or is
even
there a
Lu-
third brother we don't know about? Maybe that is Wario.
Wouldn't that be weird for them to just throw in that wrinkle somewhere? There was a third brother.
There was a third brother we don't talk about. The
Yeah.
dark, deep files of Mario Brothers.
And his name could be Bruno.
He could be. Because we don't talk about Bruno. No.
No. This is a fun game. It's a fun RPG game. In fact, I would even say that if you've never played an RPG before in your life, this is a great introduction.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, they keep everything very, very simple in how it operates as an RPG. Because, like, even your... I mean, some of the most basic things that you see in an RPG, like your equipping, your gear, your weapons, your armor, so to speak, they keep it simple. You got your weapon, you got your armor, and then you've got, I think they call them, I don't know what the hell they call them. It's like your accessory. There you go. Shit.
Oh,
So it's something that boosts your stats or
sure. A ring, a
prevents-
necklace, a belt.
Exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So they keep it as simple as that. So whatever you get, every character, you see their stats on the screen when you go to buy the stuff, and you can make those decisions. Very, very simple concept just to be like, do you want to equip this? It's going to drop your defense. So you still have that complicated choice to make. It's like, do you want to sacrifice your defense for maybe a little extra power, so on and so forth? But it's not overly complicated like some games. Final Fantasy X, I'm looking at you. I don't understand your leveling system. It's preventing me from playing it anymore. Anyway, with this, and I don't mind it being complicated, but I'm just saying for the sake of this, if you want an introductory RPG, I guess that's the point I'm trying to make
To
here.
not get too overwhelmed and bogged down with all the stuff RPGs can do to you. Yeah.
Right.
And
Because
the branching
even-
trees and all yeah.
Because even like your leveling system, I kind of appreciate this, and I don't think I noticed it. I mean, I'd say I figured it out over time, but I think when I initially played this game on the Super Nintendo, I didn't notice it or didn't pick up on it. But if for every time you go up a level, they'll give you a bonus stat. So do you want to upgrade your attack power? Do you want to upgrade your defense? Or do you want to upgrade your HP? And you might think, well, that's a difficult decision. But if you pay attention during each level, one stat is going to boost you a little bit more than the other two. So say you got to level 2, your attack, your choice for attack in this moment could be like 1 attack point up and then 1 attack defense up. Then you move over to magic, and that's boosted like 2 or 3 points. Well, that seems to be where you'd want to go because you're getting
Sure.
the better stat boost. And then maybe next time the attack is what's going to go up, or maybe next time it's HP. You're going to get more HP points. So I just whichever one's giving me the bigger boost in the moment, that's what I go for,
Perfect.
because it just doesn't make any other sense to me not to do that.
Unless
So-
you're speccing something very specific, I guess. Yeah.
Right, and I don't have time for all that. 'Cause
I
that
mean,
just-
I might do the same thing where, like, you are my ranger, you are my tank, you are my magic, like, and then I'll try to spec them that way, maybe, where it's
Fair,
like I'm
fair.
going all into this stat over the other, but yeah.
Hmm.
Or your way. There's no wrong way.
Yeah. But again, the way they kind of do that, the way they do your stat system and your like I said, your equipment and all that, it's so very simple. It's not complicated. So this is a very simplistic RPG that it makes it a great entry point for anybody who's never done this. And I would highly recommend, if you wanted to check out an RPG and you feel like it's daunting, start here.
Sure. How long is it, you think?
I would say I probably played this somewhere between 20, 25 hours. And
Alright. It's kind of a sweet spot.
I would say that on a usual playthrough, I usually do a lot of the side quests. I did most of them, but not all of them, because some of them I was just like, well, I just don't feel like doing that. Now, what I did do, and this is my thing that I do, I can't help it, but I've done this a lot ever since I've started playing the game, and I found a nice sweet spot for this. Is I did spend at least a good hour or two grinding my levels up. Not that I needed to, but there's a really good spot in the sunken ship you'll come across, and I apparently either they moved it or I forgot where it was, because there was this very, very specific spot that I thought it was, and then it wasn't there, and I was like, did I forget where this spot was?
Well, it has been 20 years. Give yourself a little bit of a break. 30 years.
But I did eventually find a spot, and then I was like, oh, this is even better, because I thought it was just one enemy. But in this new room that they had set up, or a room I just forgot, there were 3. So I could just bounce, and they're all dry bones. That's the other thing too that makes this great, because other enemies in this game, if you kill them, they are gone unless you exit and come back. Here, dry bones are the only enemies that will respawn while you're in a dungeon. So if you've already wiped out every other enemy that wasn't a dry bones along your way, you're not going to encounter them.
Okay.
So the dry bones allow you that kind of replay of refighting and refighting and refighting. So there was this room with 3 of them. They had 5 enemies apiece within each of them. High experience stats. Plus, I had an experience booster that I put on each character, like I would equip to one character at a time, boost them up, and then move it to somebody else, boost them up, and then just kind of move this practice around as I would defeat each enemy.
So do the enemies not level with you?
No.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're not really getting a lot of money and experience points out of them. So, like in a usual game, a Final Fantasy game, I guess it'd be a great one. You fight an enemy or whatever, say you're level 20, and then you beat the big boss enemy, and you're probably going to get like 5,000 XP or whatever, something like that. And then that kind of boosts you up. At most, and that's why I stuck to this room here, you probably get maybe 20 to 27 experience points per, just with this group that I'm fighting here that I grinded with.
Per enemy?
No, per fight.
Oh.
So that's just one fight. You only get 27. You come over here, that's only 27. Fight them, that's only 27. But it adds up, especially if you got the XP booster. Plus, you can have this little thing. It's like a lucky egg. And if you happen to get it during your fight, you have a choice to boost either your experience points that you earned or your money. And it's a game of what do you call it, where you got to follow follow the ball through the cups.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I can't remember it either. But like the 3 cups, 1 ball, and you're just moving it around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like that with a Yoshi. So they'll show you the little Yoshi in the middle, little baby Yoshi, and it's like, do you want to follow it? It's like, follow that egg. And then they'll spin it around, and then you just got to follow it. I want to say, and I wish to God I could say this to you.
Sorry, the shell game. Continue. I know, I'm laughing at like what we were just talking about and we couldn't think of it. Sorry.
The shell game. Of course it's the shell game. Why didn't I think? Jesus Christ. Eggshells. Anyway.
Sorry.
Where was that?
I know, I'm sorry, I derailed it.
I wish I could tell you with 100% certainty right now that I did not lose one single game. I lost one. One! And I don't know how I lost it, because I literally got in my head at one point saying, am I really good at this or what? Because I never lost.
I always felt like I was pretty good at them too, until it got like to the point where it got so stupid fast that the point wasn't for you to even win. And then I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, you're playing dirty now. And then, because I think in Cyberpunk there's an area where that happens. And then it got stupid quick. And then I somehow still guessed it right. And like everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, I can't believe it either. I'm saving it right here. What do I get? What do I get? Because I don't think I could do that again.
Yeah, it was, I kept it in the back of my head. Like I didn't want to be like,
a god at this.
Hey, guess what? I'm really good at figuring out where their shell is. You know,
I can follow a ball with my eyes.
I didn't say shit to anybody. It was just in my head. I was like, I've not lost one. And funny enough, the irony of it all is that when I finally did lose one, it was one I didn't give a shit about because I'd already maxed out everything, and I was just like, I had
needed
hit
to be
yes,
done.
and I was like, eh. So I was trying not to lose it, but I guess I didn't follow the egg well enough, and I was like, oh shit. Well, there went my record.
Damn it.
But
Yeah.
still,
Nice
I
when
was-
it lasted.
I was proud of myself up to that point.
Yeah. No, you should be. Sometimes it gets stupid hard, so.
Mm-hmm. But no, I highly recommend this game. I know I've just kind of went all over the place. My brain is not really working all that well today either, so I'm just all over the place.
And I rub off on him. Sorry, guys. The worse
Yeah.
I get, the worse he gets, and so on. You gotta match the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Not he does it so I don't feel bad.
And I don't want to say that there's one better than the other. Like, I genuinely don't want to.
Like as far as like the old game versus this game.
Yeah, because they literally play the same. And if you just want the extra bells and whistles that kind of come with it, I mean, sure. The one thing that they didn't fix, and I don't know why I didn't even bring this up. So where it is kind of on that 3D isometric playing field, there are those platforming elements to it where they'll make you jump over certain things,
Sure.
but you're at that diagonal angle, and it's just, yeah, it's really
This
not.
is why I think 3D platformers they still can't work. It's just nobody can get that sweet spot where those camera angles aren't stupid at some point.
It was difficult in the Super Nintendo days, and you thought they would have figured that out and tried to find a workaround if you were going to do it this way. They did not. So you would still have that frustration if you don't line shit up properly. It's just like, man, I know I'm jumping.
Sometimes does the camera move 360?
It doesn't move at all.
See, well then
You're
that's
s-
even worse because
Yeah,
then you
you're
can't
stuck.
really move it to line up. You just kind of gotta guess, I guess.
I mean, you
Yeah.
pretty much have to figure out, like, especially because there's this one section in the final castle where this is part of the thing. You cannot fail. They give you like a handful of tries, and that's it. And then you're out. You got to start over. So you're having to jump on this one platform, and then there's another platform that circles it. But you have to use those to get to the other side.
Oh, kind of like that Wipeout game.
Yeah, but you're over some lava.
Sure,
So
instead of water. Yeah.
yeah, and then you have to figure out where to jump at just the right time that you're going to land on the other one and not fall into the lava. And hopefully you don't jerk your controller a certain way, or I don't know.
Breathe too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to. That's one of the elements of the game that I would say that still frustrates me, and they did not fix. And I don't know what. There's nothing you can do about it, I guess. I don't know what.
Just time it.
Yeah, you gotta. That's the only part that I would say would frustrate people, no doubt, because it frustrated me many times. I was like, this
Oh.
is bullshit.
I think that would make me salty. Yes. Yeah.
I think there
I have
were-
a bad attitude when on certain games if I can't make it through. That's why some games I just don't play. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I am a maniac right now. Why am I so angry over this fictional thing? You know? Like,
Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, I'm sure you do, but I'm just like, I gotta stop this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, I really don't know what to do about it, and I don't know what they could do about it other than just not have it in that style.
Yeah, just nix it. Yeah.
Because I know at some point it was just, like, I was trying to get all the hidden stuff and the special items and shit, and once it got to a spot where it was like, we're going to have to jump over here and then hop over this thing and then time it just over here, and then you'll get over here to get this chest. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm fuck it.
Done. I'm done with you.
I just don't need this. It's not benefiting me in any way whatsoever. I got this. Fuck you. And I just
Kind of
moved
like
on.
me with every stealth game. I start off stealth, and then by the end, I've gotten so tired of trying to do it, I'm just like, "Roar!" my way through everything. Yeah, yeah.
Same.
Screw you.
Same.
Yeah.
But no, this is a very fun game. I think it's a great RPG introduction, and whether you play the original or you play the remake, I don't think it makes a difference at all. Honestly,
I guess if
I
you
think-
like it prettier than maybe the new one,
yeah, if you've not,
depending
if
on what
you
your style is.
like, if you were a fan of the original and you've been kind of like, and you have not played it and you've been kind of wishy-washy on it, it's like, do I want to? If you're wanting to revisit it with just a few extra perks, absolutely, go for it. But if you're just like, well, if it's just the same game and I don't want to pay for it, then I would also say fair.
Can we find the first one?
You should be able to. I don't
Because
want to
Nintendo
say.
makes it rough. They don't like to preserve their stuff for whatever reason, it feels like.
This is true. I want to say that it was on the Nintendo Online, but I could be absolutely wrong. But, and again, this is another one of those things that they possibly have made difficult to find anymore. Do you remember that Super Nintendo, the classic edition that they came out with? It was like the little mini.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was on there.
Oh, okay.
So if you can still get one of those, there's a way to get it.
I wonder if they're even doing those. They were all like hot for a minute, all those mini
They were.
console everythings. Yeah.
It was like a 2017, I think, is when that was like the hot. 2016,
Yeah, I feel like we got
2017.
one like of everything. Like there was
Yeah,
a Nintendo,
Genesis.
there was a Super Nintendo, there was a Genesis. I think Atari tried to or something, or something similar to a something box that would play those. And I don't know, maybe it was a Soulja Boy thing.
Oh yeah. Oh Jesus, I remember that damn
Yeah.
atrocity, whatever that
Oh.
was.
I feel like he kept trying to make other stuff too. I don't know. I mean, you do you, man, but like Nintendo gonna come calling.
Oh, and they did. It
Oh, they
came a
did.
knocking, boy. Because
You can't mess with their stuff at all,
wasn't his
even
base.
if it's to their benefit.
Well, if it would be in their benefit, but
Well, that's not even true. I've seen, okay, I know we're deviating here, but, like content creators on YouTube that like Nintendo games.
Mhm.
Like that could potentially be selling more of your game, especially when
True.
there's just these clips. Now, if people are playing the entire game front to back, then I could see you being a little upset about that. But these clips and everything, and they're still DMCAing your butt, it's just like, dude, come on.
it's a selling
And that should be
point.
considered fair use. There's commentary. He's broken it up. They've edited it differently. I don't know. But they just, they're uptight.
Yeah, they really are. And that's honestly why I was surprised this even happened, because I thought I'd heard that Square and Nintendo were not on the best terms at one point. Maybe they patched things up. I don't know.
Maybe they have to. Developers these days seem to need to be joining other companies or going under.
That's true.
Of course, I blame the corporations for buying them all up, but what do I know?
You don't know a thing. You're not
I really don't.
struggling as a $1 billion CEO who just, they deserve their bonus.
They really do.
You know, they
I
sit
feel
there-
bad for all of them that only have 3 yachts. I
I
mean, what
know.
is that? They can't show up at the country club with 3.
No, you're a peasant at that point. How dare you?
How are you going to face them on the tennis court? The squash court? How?
I mean, it's embarrassing for all those people.
Everyone involved. I mean, and then the people who have to play with you who only have 3 yachts. I mean,
Good old Tom over there.
God, so gross.
His yacht has barnacles.
Oh, no! I heard he has to clean it himself sometimes.
Dear God, man.
Oh, God, I even
Making
saw
me
him
sick.
stocking the fridge.
That's all I got to say on this game.
Okay. Well, it sounds like fun, though. I like RPGs, so.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
it won't take up too much of your time, and it's challenging enough, but also simplistic in its playthroughs. It'll keep you entertained. I got a few good chuckles out of it still. Just the way they kind of did some of the kind of redoing some of the old jokes and whatnot. So it's,
And the new cinematics you said were cute, too.
and
so.
oh yeah, the cinematics are fantastic. I mean, I would just do the fill up the gauge for the 100% just to watch the cinematics because I thought they
fun.
were so fun.
Yeah,
But you can
cool.
skip them if you don't want to see it. So I mean, that's
Well,
that's
maybe your
up
second
to you.
time around.
Yeah. But siblings, if you've played this game, if you played the original, let us know on social media at Super Mega Crash. What are your thoughts, opinions, memories? If you got memories, of it,
Yeah, memories.
I'd love to hear it. And remember, you can also send us an email if you want, supermegacrash@gmail.com. Support the show over on Patreon. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app, and keep up with any and all things over at pencilpaperproductions.com/supermegacrash. Links are in the show notes down below. Join us again next week, siblings. But until then, go beyond your limits.
Ba, 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 ba.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.